Hey everybody, today's video is going to be about these guys, my rod and reel systems. Now, instead of going through and just showing the specific models and styles that I'm using, okay, I'd rather, kind of like my other videos, kind of explain why I'm doing these, have these certain ones, and maybe to help you to kind of understand what to look for, and not just, oh, he's using this model, so I have to buy that model, okay? Because that's not, in fishing, that's not the way you do it. You need to get the specifics right for the type of fishing that you're doing. So if somebody else is using this specific thing, unless they're gonna be fishing and utilizing every single thing that they're doing, it's not necessarily the right rod and reel for you, all right? The second part of it I want you to have a takeaway is, and this is kind of why I've got this playlist full of videos about the Shakespeare Ugly Stick GX2. And what that is it's just a plain medium weight. It's basically a freshwater trout rod. And I've utilized that to catch pretty much all the fish in the Keys, okay? From ginormous down to itty bitty. Now I've still got a couple more species that I want to hit, but it's handled all of them, okay? And that's a $20 rod. And the takeaway on that is that if you get somebody saying, oh, you have to have this 2017 blah, 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 because it's the only way to catch the big trophy fish, okay, just nod your head and walk away, all right? Okay, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that necessary. People have been catching record-sized fish for hundreds of years without that rod, so just take things with a grain of salt and just be more educated about it, okay? So that's kind of the way I want you to focus on this video. Now, the way I'm gonna break it down is I'm pretty much gonna go through my systems from most important, that are most utilized, and then down to some of the irrelevant ones that I really don't use anymore. And to be honest with you, I could easily narrow it down to 2 rods and reels, throw away all the other ones, and I would be totally fine, okay? Now, I do, because I fish a lot, okay, you watch my videos, my channel, I fish a lot, and I fish a lot of different varieties of species. I do a lot of different strategies. I do a lot of different locales, and I do a lot of different shore, kayaks, boats, okay, bridges. So it's a lot of different variances where it's not necessarily the most average person is going to do. As well as I'm dedicated more in catching a lot of fish, so a lot of times I run multiple rods at the same time where it's really not have to do it. It just increases my odds a bit. But like I said, I can narrow it down to 2 rods and reels and I'd be comfortable throwing the rest away, okay? And I'll focus on those 2 in the beginning. So anyways, let's get this started. Okay, let's get started with my top 2 picks. If I could only have 2 rods and reels for my entire time down here in the Keys, this would be it. And this one actually would be, if I could only be one and done, would be my choice here. And what this is a 7-foot medium heavy rod. This one happens to be a Shimano Teramar TMS-X70MH. So 7-foot length, line weight is 10 to 20 pounds. Lure weight is 1/2 ounce to 1.5 ounce. Power is medium heavy, action is extra fast. 7 foot is my personal wheelhouse there. A little bit medium heavy is a little bit heavier, but yet I can still flick a soft plastic fairly easily. But if I get a big chunky mangrove and have to keep them out from the mangrove roots, I could pull them out. I could still vertical jig this with the black fins and whatever. Sure, big sharks, big amberjacks, it could be a little bit tough for just a medium heavy, but it still gives me that opportunity. But yet it's light enough that I could do light yellowtail fishing and so forth. Now I've got that paired with a Conflict 4000 series reel. 4000 is perfectly, it has enough line capacity. It's got a little bit beefier drag than, let's say, a 2000 2500 that a lot of people use for light tackle. That extra line capacity and drag does make a difference, and it's just a little bit more heavy duty. And it specifically matches really well with the medium heavy. Now, second would be my other alternative system, and to be honest with you, it's the big brother to that unit. This is a Shimano Teramar again in 7 foot again, but this one is the heavy. So this is the TMS-F70H, length 7 foot, line weight 15 to 30, lure weight 1/2 ounce to 2 ounce, power heavy, action medium fast. Again, that nice wheelhouse, 7 foot. I can flick lures fairly easily. This one being heavy has a good heavy backbone, so I can put a lot of weight on bigger fish. Works great for that part of it. So for that one, yellowtails, mango snappers, jack crevalles, any inshore light tackle fishing, that works. This guy, heavy duty, tarpon, sharks, amberjacks, blackfin tunas. This one can take offshore and feel comfortable with it. I've got it paired with a 6000 series spinning reel. This is the Penn Conflict, just like that one is, in the 6000. Really good solid drag system, has decent amount of line capacity. I didn't go to an 8000 because I wanted less bulk, because I'm going to be using it a lot, casting a lot, carrying it a lot, and that extra weight I didn't feel I needed for that extra drag capacity versus this one. This worked fine, and it serves me well for across the board for the heavier duty fishing there. Then, once I get into my, you can have a couple more options, then I go to, it's basically a mirror of my 7 foot Shimano, the light tackle stuff. This one is just a 7 foot 6 inches medium. And the reason for it is that I could flick very light, soft plastics, live shrimp, just small baits. Because it's a little bit flimsier, a lot lighter, quicker tip, I could flick baits a lot farther, easier with this setup. And it's that medium weight, so it's a lot lighter. Again, matched up with the exact reel, Penn Conflict 4000. I specifically have the same reel because I swap out spools. So on that spool, I've got 10-pound braid. So good for light tackle, throwing those light lures there. This one has 15 pounds, so if I'm doing a little bit heavier going out to the reef, I might get into some bigger fish. I'll use this one. Then I've got a spare spool, 2 extra spare spools. One has the 20-pound braid on it. So if I'm going to be doing some black fins, or I'm going to do some bigger fish baits on the reef that I know it's going to be needing that heavier oomph to it. If I'm going to be fishing for a full-size tarpon, throwing a tiny bait like that, I'll use the 20-pound braid. And then the 4th spool, I have the 15-pound Andes Mono Pink. And I use that specifically for drifting baits back on the chum slick, basically my yellowtail setup. So instead of buying multiple reels, I just buy spools and have that specific line on it. And I can make this from 10-pound braid to 20-pound braid to 15 mono, 15 braid, all in the same system, and use it for multiple things. And to round it out, this one actually is a combo. I could give or take either one. They have a little bit of benefits, but it's basically based off of my jigging system. And that's using a Shimano Teramar 16. Okay, it's the narrow spool, which is what you want for vertical jigging, because it allows you to feed line onto the spool easier because it's narrow. The rod here is a Shimano TDR. It's the 86MH2B. It's a length of 8 foot 6 inch. It's a line weight 15 to 30 pound. Powder is medium heavy. Action is medium fast. I call this one my Noodle Rod. Okay, you can see how flexible it is. It's a parabolic style trolling rod. It's actually a 2-piece rod. What it's originally built for is freshwater trolling for walleye and trout, okay, using on a downrigger system. So it's very easy to preload, and then once it trips that downrigger, it flips up and then you're on. I lucked into it because I didn't have a heavier duty rod. I broke my Trevala, so I took this guy out, and what I found out, it works great in 3 ways, and why I love it, well, 4 ways actually. One is for vertical jigging, it has a lot of that parabolic flex. So when I'm jigging, it gets a lot of reaction because it's always constantly bent, and then it reactions back up and it really jerks that lure up. 2, when I'm fighting that fish, it has that constant deep bow into that parabolic bow on it. So when I'm fighting that fish, and I even get it to the point where I'm top loaded and I'm ready to reel down, that rod is still bent way over with a ton of pressure on that fish. So just like a resistance band weightlifting, it's not just heavy pressure going up, but with this parabolic, it has heavy pressure coming down, so it's constantly got that pressure on that fish. Okay. Third reason I love this for tarpon fishing. I could, with that 8 6 inch length, I could flick out live baits without a problem, far as I want to. And two, when I do hook up with a tarpon, most of the time you're going to lose that fish when they start jumping in that violent jump, shaking their heads. It either breaks your line, breaks your leader, breaks your knots, breaks the hook, straightens the hook, or pulls that hook out of the fish's mouth because of no flexibility in their system. But with this dude, I have so much flexibility, it absorbs so much. I could be not so specific and it'll absorb that action and keeps my hookup ratio. So love it for that. And the fourth reason why I love it, it's $30. Because it's a trolling setup, they usually sell them on eBay for 2 for $60 with free shipping. So 30 bucks out the door, and just love these things. Now I said it was an optional because the alternative for that system with that matched reel is this. My new Shimano Travela. This is the TVC-58XH, which is 5 foot 8 inch. Braided line 80 to 200 pound. Jig weight is 180 to 270 grams. Power is extra heavy and action is medium fast. This is a straight up vertical jigging rod specifically for that. Parabolic again, very light, very spongy tip, but gets that deep bend on it. Can really horse fish up. That's what these jigging rods are for. Super light, super thin, a lot of action, but yet can put a lot of backbone on it. Now I use this specifically for the vertical jigging, but it also double teams as a bottom rod. So if I'm going for grouper, mutton snapper, where I'm having a bait on the bottom and I need that power to be able to just stop that fish and get it away from or keep it away from structure on the bottom. And that's where this really comes into play versus that 8 6 with a lot of floppiness to it. But I would not use this for tarpon because it doesn't have that flexibility. It gets rigid really quickly and I would be pulling too many hooks. So it's a give and take on either one. I would use these cross combo either way, but those are general my 4 out the door, 100% happy. I don't need anything else. Okay, moving on. The rest I can go through, like that's my key systems. Okay, I'd say 90% of it, those are the way I'm going, and I don't need anything else. But I do have alternate systems for other things. So for example, this dude here, I've actually got a couple of these. This is a throwaway rod that I found on the side of the channel. And I find these quite often because people come down to the Keys. They want to do the fishing experience, but they really don't fish a lot. So they can't see putting a couple $100 into a fishing rod setup. So they go to Kmart and buy a $20 combo. And that's generally what you get with it. This is like a Shimano Stimula. I've got this other one, which is a Roddy Fish. And they come with these little cheap reels, combos, and some 15-pound mono line on it, and just real cheap stuff. But this one is my bait rod. Okay, I bait fish quite often. Okay, live baits. So when I don't use the cast net, I have to hook and line them, and that's what this guy is for. Just a nice basic system. I have a couple of these. I do have a nicer reel on it. This is a Shimano Sahara 2500 on it. I've got some little 8-pound mono line on it, so I don't have to worry about leaders and so forth. And I catch pinfish with this primarily. Too, when I go out to the reef, I use it to hook and line ballyhoo with it. I also can just drop a baits and catch grunts. Any type of small bait fish works totally fine with it. I've used it on the bridges as well for fun fishing. So works fine, and that's just what it is, just for catching bait. But still, very important for the fishing that I do. If you watch as many videos where I use live bait for all these tarpon, I start off with that rod. So that is what it is. Another different one. This is actually that Shakespeare Ugly Stick GX2 medium. Basically, it's a 2-piece rod. It is their freshwater trout rod. Okay, it's got a little 3000 series reel, and this is the exact combo I picked up for $30 $2 at Kmart, the whole rod, reel, everything, and actually caught that 7-foot lemon shark with the existing system, so it works fine there. But I'll use this one for just a funsy stuff. Amberjacks are next, so that's that dude. Then I go to these guys, which are probably my most high-end equipment that I carry. These are stand-up trolling rods, roller tip, roller guides, Shimano TLD-30As, which are 2 speeds. So they have a low gear and a high gear with a push of a button, lever action. I strictly use these for trolling. And then I've got one that I've got one with 40-pound mono completely, just straight blue mono, Andes. And that one is straight trolling. And then I've got a matching set, which I have filled with 65-pound braid. And I also use it for trolling. Most of the time I use this one when I use this specific lure, which is a deep diving trolling lure. These are the Man's Stretch 30s, where the 30-foot deep divers. So using this braided line helps them get down easier and deeper, so I use it for that. Also, if I am dropping big baits down for wreck fishing or bottom fishing, then I'll use this one with the braid as well, because there it's stop the fish or lose the fish. And they're paired up with these Andes Tournament Series stand-up rods. And they are 6-foot, 20 to 50-pound setups. And just a heavy-duty setup. I'll start using those more during the summertime trolling. But otherwise, that's all they're good for. And I could use my heavy-duty 2 from my primary 4 systems and troll the same thing for majority of the stuff. So not so necessary, but when I know I am specifically doing a troll day, that's when I bring those out. The rest of the stuff I don't use, to be honest with you. I've got them, but I don't use them. I have a couple of Shimano Travela jigging setups. One is a medium light and one is a medium heavy. One 6'6", one 7-foot. Abu Garcia's. This is the C4 6500 C3s, and I just got this old Shimano 200G, R200G, okay, levers. So, and they're basically just light action jigging, which I don't light action jig generally, because if I use light action jigs out in the wrecks, that would not go well for those. Mainly the reels wouldn't hold up. I think the rods would probably somewhat survive most of the time, but the reels wouldn't have enough capacity or the drag. I did try them when I first started and it wasn't enough. But if I do some reef stuff, I could use those and be totally fine. I do some patch reef drifting, where I drop a jig or a live bait and then just drift along the inner, just off the flats in the channel. That type of fishing will work fine. Then I've got a couple of bass setups that I just don't use. This is a Lamy Glass 7-foot paired up with a Revo S. So, I mean, I did bass fish. I'm a good bass fisherman too, so I mean, it's not like I suck at it. I'm actually really good at it, but there's no fresh water here. I know some of the bass guys will be happy that I show this stuff. So then I got the Pro Max Abu Garcia, and this is a Shimano Jimmy Houston series rod, and this is my long flicker. I got a Revo X, Abu Garcia Revo SX with a Veritas Abu Garcia. And this is like a 7'6" medium heavy. I did use it 10 to 20 pound. I did use this a few times earlier, but it doesn't have enough backbone for the type of fishing in the saltwater over here. But I use this a lot for bass stuff as well. And like I said, I got a few of these little cheap combos that people throw away when they leave, so I just get them, rebuild them, and go through it. But that is it. Oh, got this guy. Fly guys will be happy that I've got this. Just use this. This is actually a Bass Pro Shops combo that I bought used off of eBay. I think I paid $136 or something like that for it. But it's basically a couple hundred, $250 combo where you get the rod, reel, backing, fly line, and leader all as a combo. So you can't beat that. I think for 200 bucks. It's the... This one is the Worldwide Sportsman DCV 90124 9-foot 12-weight line. It's the Deceiver Series rod. I think it's 4 or 5 piece system. And then I've got that paired up with a White River Fly Shop 10-weight reel. And this is the Kingfisher series. And I don't know what I think I've got 30-pound yellow backing with standard saltwater fly line, and then I custom build my own leaders depending what I use it for. Oh, and then over here, if I can get to it, I don't know if I can get to it. Another oddball one I've done a couple times, but I don't know if you can see that. It is this is my sabiki stick, Ahi 8-foot sabiki stick. Have it just paired off with a little Ukuma reel. Use that for sabiking up bait. But that's basically it. Well, that's it. That's all my babies. My takeaways on this video that I hopefully you grasped were understand those 4 core ones, or the 2 core ones, or the single core one. That gets you in the ballpark. What for me roughly covers all my bases, and I do fish a lot for a lot of different things. Secondly, again, okay, don't worry about matching component for component. It's not the model, but it's the type of rod that I'm using, the lengths, the weights, the actions that are kind of important depending on what you're using it for, what you're chasing after. So use that as more informational parts on what rods and reels to use. And third, a good thing I kind of relate it to is playing pool. If you play pool, okay, you might understand this more. But you could take a professional player and hand him or her the shoddiest warped piece of crap pool cue off of an old bar wall, and he'll clean house with it without a problem. Versus you could take a general average player, give him a $5,000 pool cue, and he's going to get his butt kicked, okay? Because it doesn't make a difference. It's knowing how to use the equipment that matters. So no different than fishing. Learn how to use your equipment, and then the equipment isn't so important. For example, drags, okay? You don't need to spend $500 for a reel because it's this exceptional drag. I have exceptional drag right here, my thumb. My thumb is way more sensitive than any type of drag. My thumb is variable. I could give it more pressure. I could give it less pressure. I can give it no pressure, okay? There's no drags out in the system that do that. Once you have them set, that's it. If it's 10 pounds drag, it's gonna give 10 pounds drag. But when you're fighting a fish, you don't always want just 10-pound drag. Sometimes when it's freaking out and jamming off, you want 5 pounds of drag. But if it's getting for cover, and if you don't stop them, it's gonna break you off, then you put on 50 pounds of pressure and lock it down, all right? No difference than on a spinning reel. Same thing with the spool, okay? Knowing how to palm it, okay? Putting your fingers and running it on that spool and bringing that extra drag, all right? That sensitive part. That's more important than buying an extra heavy duty this or that, state-of-the-art, blah, 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 okay? Learn how to use the equipment and you'll be a lot more successful, and you'll have a lot more cash to buy stuff that really matters. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully that was helpful, and I'll see you next video. Bye. And this one actually would be my one and done if it really came down to it. So if I could only pick the one, this guy would be it. Oh, you fucking... God damn it.